So let's talk about that where a little bit. Things to think about as you do that. And like I said, we did this for a minute and a half or 2 minutes. But as you do this in your company or in your division or whatever change you're trying to make, keep some of these things in mind. There has to be a defined reference point to start from. That's your now. And it can't be vague. I think back to a manufacturer I met probably 10 years, well, not 10 years ago, 6 or 8 years ago. And I'd never met them before. We were talking about change and what are they doing in their business. And they said, well, one of the things that we've decided to work on, customer service has really improved in our industry and we need to do better. So one of the things we want to do is from the time a customer calls to the time we've resolved whatever their issue is, whether it's we got to fix something, send them a part, whatever it is, from the time they call until the time it's done, totally finished helping them, we want to take 25% of that time off. So whatever that time is now, we're going to shave it off by 25%. So they started working on that, and then they realized they really didn't know how long it took in the first place. So how do you know if you've saved 25% of your time if you don't know what the 100% was you started with? So there has to be a reference point to start with. The second one, if you can't see it, you can't do it. I'm not going to make anybody do this today, but quite often when we work with groups, I'll make them actually draw what that where looks like a picture, and you'll stick people and all whatever stuff they want. The purpose of that isn't just to make fun of people's artwork. The purpose of that is if you can't see and can't create an image for yourself and for everybody else of what you want that where to look like, then when you get back to work and you have meetings and phone calls and emails and stuff going on and fires to put out, you're going to get distracted and you're not going to have anything that pulls you back to why we're trying to do this. It's really easy to get off track with change because we have our everyday jobs already and change just feels like extra work. So you've got to have some kind of an image, preferably written down, but if you don't, that's fine. But some kind of an image that you can go back to when you get distracted. The third point, similar to the first one, you have to know if you succeeded or failed. Your where has to be defined. So again, if I go to a customer and they say, hey, you know, we want to grow this year. Well, I don't know what that means. I mean, if you grow by $1, is that good enough? I mean, you said you wanted to grow. Well, $2, okay, we want to grow by 20%. Okay, that's something we can measure. Okay. A lot of businesses say, well, we're good at change. And part of the reason they say they're good at change is because they haven't failed. And part of the reason they haven't failed is they never really set what their goal was in the first place. They just said, I wanted to be better. Well, if you're just a little bit better, hey, you succeeded, right? So you've got to have some kind of a measurable, defined, this is what we're trying to become. The fourth one, your where has to be agile. There's a fine line between having stick-to-itiveness and being stubborn. We talk about change and how fast environments change and how fast markets change and people change and all that stuff. So you're going to set this really cool where, and you got this awesome picture you want to be. 6 months from now, something could happen that totally blows that up. And you have to be able to adjust. And that doesn't mean you just quit. That's why I said there's a fine line between stick-to-itiveness and stubbornness, but you have to be flexible. And that's hard for people. It's hard enough to want to make change, but then to change the change you're making, that really messes with people's brains. But you have to be agile. Okay? Then the last one, what I said before, you have to decide what of that stuff really matters. You start thinking through what you want your business to look like. There's going to be so many pieces to that, you can't possibly do them all at once. Almost impossible. And if you try to do them all at once, you get really frustrated and quit. When I started doing this for a living, I thought that my goal would have to be to get people to do stuff. But more often, it's to get people to do less stuff. Because we bite off way more than we can chew, and then pretty soon we just quit. Because we're overwhelmed and not making any progress. So somehow you have to decide what of that where is really important, is the most important, and prioritize, and not try to tackle it all at once.